A child is born, small, weak, and fearful. But this child grows up to become a Tsar who shakes all of Russia. He becomes both a brilliant statesman and a ruthless ruler. This child is Ivan IV, also known as Ivan the Terrible. Let's take a look at 10 fascinating facts about him. Fact 1. A difficult childhood, Ivan the Terrible was born in 1530 at the Moscow Kremlin. His father, Vasily III, died while Ivan was still a child, and the young Ivan ascended to the throne as Tsar. This immediately made his life dangerous and complicated. Inside the palace, boyar factions competed fiercely, plotting and scheming for power. His mother, Elena Glinskaya, tried to protect the young Tsar, but political manipulations and betrayals made his childhood fearful and tense. Young Ivan often felt alone, deprived of love and attention, and at an early age, he learned severity, anger, and the need for power. These hardships shaped his character, turning him into both a brilliant and fearsome ruler. The fear and loneliness he experienced as a child became key factors behind the harsh and ruthless decisions he would later make while ruling Russia. Fact 2. The first Tsar of Russia, Ivan IV, known as Ivan the Terrible, was officially declared Tsar of Russia in 1547, becoming the first ruler in Russia to hold the title Tsar. This was not just a change in name, it marked the beginning of an entirely new era in Russia's political and religious life. The title gave him immense powers as well as heavy responsibilities. He now held authority over all boyar factions and could determine the laws of the land according to his will. Using this new status, Ivan the Terrible began centralizing power in Russia and significantly reducing the influence of the boyar aristocracy. At the same time, he implemented strict measures to inspire both fear and respect among the people. These actions established him as both a brilliant statesman and a fearsome figure in history. As the first Tsar, Ivan's decisions and policies set the path for future Russian rulers and left a lasting impact on the country's political structure. Fact 3. He killed his own son. One of the most terrifying and famous events in history is Ivan the Terrible striking down his own son. According to accounts, Ivan's son, the young and spirited Alexander, sometimes opposed his father's strict behavior or was simply misunderstood. One day, Ivan's anger erupted uncontrollably, and in a furious moment, he struck his son. This moment became both a family tragedy and a turning point in Russian history. Ivan later felt deep remorse for his action, but the impact of the event remained etched in Russia's political and historical memory. This incident reveals both sides of Ivan. On one hand, the ruthless Tsar, on the other, a human father capable of grave mistakes. Historians often cite this episode to understand Ivan's psychological state and the tension between his harsh methods of rule and his human side. The loss of his son also had significant consequences for Russia's future succession and political stability. Fact 4. The ruthless ruler, Ivan the Terrible, his very name inspired fear. Under his rule, even the smallest mistake could lead to death or torture. He did not hesitate to punish not only his enemies, but sometimes those close to him, boyars, courtiers, and even members of his own family. It is said that in one fit of rage, he even struck his own son. Thousands trembled before his severity. But there was a reason behind this fearsome image. Ivan's goal was not merely to intimidate. He wanted to centralize Russia's power and limit the influence of the boyars. Every action he took was carefully calculated to instill both fear and respect. Ivan the Terrible went down in history as both a brilliant and terrifying Tsar, a leader whose ruthless measures shaped the future of Russia. Fact 5. Expanding Russian territories, Ivan the Terrible was known not only for his fear and severity, but also for his strategic mind and determination. At the time, Russia was still decentralized with small, poorly defended borders. Ivan decided to change that. He conquered the Kazan and Astrakhan Khanates, bringing vast lands from the Ural Mountains to the Volga River under Moscow's control. Each conquest was more than just territory. It brought power, wealth, and strategic advantage. People said that when Ivan's name was mentioned, it inspired both fear and awe, because he was not just the Tsar of Moscow, but the Tsar of all Russia. Every move he made was carefully calculated, planned, and purposeful. This expansion policy did more than increase land. It laid the foundation for Russia's future as a powerful empire. Ivan the Terrible left his mark on history as both a fearsome and brilliant ruler, and his conquest completely reshaped the map of Russia. Fact 6. The Oprichnina system. Ivan the Terrible took a historic step to centralize power in Russia and reduce the influence of the boyar aristocracy. He created the Oprichnina system. This system functioned both as a tool of governance and a method of instilling fear. The Oprichnina territories were under Ivan's direct control, staffed with specially chosen officials and military forces called oprichniks. These men carried out his orders, monitored the boyars, and ruthlessly crushed any resistance. The system was so harsh and terrifying that people were struck with both fear and awe at its power. Through the Oprichnina, Ivan not only strengthened state authority, but also reinforced his rule by spreading fear around him. Historical records show that the system caused severe damage to the wealth and lives of the boyars, yet it was an invaluable contribution to the creation of a centralized and powerful Russia. The Oprichnina remains one of the most terrifying yet strategically successful parts of Ivan the Terrible's historical legacy. Fact 7. Psychological state. Ivan the Terrible's life was not only filled with external conquests and political intrigues, but also with turmoil within his own mind. Historical records indicate that in his later years, Ivan was plagued by severe paranoia and fits of rage. He believed that everyone was working against him. Boyars, his closest advisors, and even his own family. This constant suspicion and fear forced him into harsh and sometimes irrational decisions. Ivan's psychological state helps explain his cruel behaviors, including striking his own son and implementing the terrifying Oprichnina system. On one hand, he was a brilliant strategist and leader. On the other, fear and distrust transformed him into an even more ruthless and unpredictable ruler. This psychological tension is a key reason why Ivan the Terrible is remembered in history as both a genius and a fearsome figure. Fact 8. Education and religion. Ivan the Terrible paid close attention to Russia's religious and educational life. In his time, the Orthodox Church was not only a spiritual institution, but also a center of political and social influence. Ivan preserved the church's power while integrating it into state governance. His support strengthened the religious life of the people and reinforced respect and obedience toward his rule. At the same time, Ivan understood the importance of education. He promoted the development of palace schools, encouraged the training of teachers, and focused on creating libraries and preserving ancient writings. Under his rule, Russia's literacy and official documentation system improved, which not only made administration more efficient, but also advanced the country's cultural development. For Ivan the Terrible, religion and education were not merely tools of power. They were instruments to strengthen the people culturally and spiritually. Behind the fearsome image of the Tsar, he also appeared as a thoughtful, strategic, and planning leader. This balance, combining severity and discipline with religious and educational reforms, made his historical legacy both complex and profound. Fact 9. The terrifying Tsar's secret music. Ivan the Terrible, his very name made people tremble, yet hidden within this fearsome ruler's world was a subtle passion that few knew about: his love for music. Can you imagine that a man so harsh, cruel, and furious could have tenderness in his heart? Yet he did. Historical sources show that Ivan kept musicians at his court and, in quiet rooms at night, reflected while listening to the sounds of the sitar and other stringed instruments. He did not just listen to music, he felt each note aligning the rhythm of melodies with his own emotions. Behind the terrifying image of the enraged Tsar stood a man who soothed his soul with music. This musical taste revealed not only his severity, but also his humanity. Ivan the Terrible was both a fearsome ruler and a man with a surprisingly delicate soul, a mystery that historians still study with awe. Fact 10. Death and final years. Ivan the Terrible passed away in 1584, leaving a unique and complex legacy in Russian history. In his final years, his behavior grew even harsher, consumed by paranoia and rage. Every action he took was filled with fear and suspicion. Boyars, his closest advisors, and even his family approached him with constant caution. Ivan's death marked not just the end of a ruler, but the conclusion of an era. His Russia, governed through severity, fear, and at times terrifying decisions, laid the foundation for a more centralized and powerful state in the future. With his passing, historians acknowledge that he would be remembered as both a brilliant and fearsome leader. Even the Terrible left his mark as a symbolic Tsar of Russia, commanding fear, respect, and awe through deeply calculated strategic actions. His life and death remain a unique testament to the complexity of human nature and the dual power of authority, both creative and destructive. Ivan the Terrible's story is terrifying, dramatic, and at the same time astonishing. His severity, conquests, fearsome decisions, and unexpected subtleties make him a truly unique figure in history. If you enjoy such fascinating historical stories, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next mysterious and dramatic historical facts. Learning history is both exciting and amazing, and figures like Ivan the Terrible make it unforgettable.